Welcome to episode 51. Today's episode is a very special episode. Today we are going back to the future again. Today we're going to go back in time. We're going to chat to previous guests who at the time of their original recording were looking forward to continuing their journey and competing in future events. That future has now passed, so we can now relink in with them and see how they get on. Enjoy! Our first athlete to go back to the future is Joe Hand, aka Explosive Joseph. Joe, you're very welcome back in the podcast. Great to see you, mate.
You too, Micky. It's great to be back. It really is. It's been a while. It's been a while now. Well, what has it been? A few months since last one was just before the big one over in
We
for the Dragon.
we last spoke in July. Would you
Wow.
believe it was in the middle of July last year? We were catching up on how you were getting on, and you left us with the old cliffhanger that a certain Ironman event was coming up in the future for you. So, how did you get on in Wales? You did Ironman Wales after our last podcast. So, what was the crack? How did you get through that?
Do you know what? It was one that I'll probably never forget for the good and for the bad. So yeah, like everything went well up to Wales. The preparation, the training. It was my first Ironman, so like it doesn't matter how much training you do, you still will never feel 100%. No matter what like sort of training that gets put in. So I suppose jumping straight into Wales, from the get go, things just went a bit south. So got into the swim and like the water was quite choppy as it was, but there was about a kilometre into the swim. Right, I was swimming and I remember I seen these two guys and I tried getting a bit of a gap on them because they were being a bit too slow and I was trying to push on. And when I went to try go around them, when I went to try go through them, they clipped me watch. Right, so within the first kilometre, whatever happened on the way they hit the watch, I didn't notice for a few minutes, but then I just felt a little bit off, so I kind of looked down and I noticed I had no watch on.
Oh,
So
lovely.
yeah,
You
so
lost the watch in the swim then?
I lost the watch and I kind of got a bit like, oh shit, I need the watch. Turn around, trying to find, and of course, it's like trying to find the needle in a haystack. Not going to happen.
Yeah, it's
So
gone. Yeah.
yeah, so I ended up just trying to forget about it and kept on swimming. And the way Wales is, it's like an Aussie exit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's two different laps and got out of the first lap into the second lap. I'm about halfway through the second lap, and then next of all, there was a bit of like it was so crowded. I remember I think there was about 3,000 people doing it. So whatever happened again, I got into a bit of trouble with a lot of people, and one of them kind of swiped at me, and me like a goggles came off. So
Christ.
so I had to swim the rest of the swim with no goggles. I couldn't find them. But anyways,
Really? How far
yeah,
did you have to swim then without any goggles?
it was about I'd say about 500 meters.
Christ. And did you just
Yeah.
continue with your face down, or did you go for the old Tarzan stroke, or how did you...
Trying, I was letting the eyes burn. I was trying to make sure I could just sight at the same time, but it was very difficult. And I think as well because you don't really get practice like this kind of stuff. It's just it looks like it happens on race day, and you have to just deal with it. So we get out of water in a very disappointing. I think it was an hour and 20, or an hour and 30. No, an hour and 30. So it was a bit
But
down on the time.
I remember that event because it was a couple from our club was doing it. I was tracking you as well, and it was choppy from
Hmm.
memory. Like I remember chatting to the people afterwards, and they were all commenting about the water that day. And it was pretty rough.
Hmm.
So what sounds like a disappointing time when you put it into context with the surge and the waves and the turbulence and the amount of people splashing about. You had no goggles. You lost your watch.
Yeah.
Hey, you got through it, man. You done it.
Absolutely, yeah. I think then once I got out of water, I was kind of just racing on rage, because I was a bit disappointed over the swim, so I got on the bike then and I just let loose. So I pushed really hard, pushed a little bit too hard, to be honest, for the first. I remember getting to 80k and saying to myself, oh, this is going to be a long hell day. The hills never stopped. They really didn't. Which I was prepared for. I'd done a lot of hill work and I was over in Wales in a training camp, so I kind of knew what to expect. But when we got off the bike, I probably should have done a little bit more research on what was to come after that, Mickey, because that marathon, that was a marathon from hell. It literally
Yeah,
was. It was. I think the Wales Marathon, off the top of my head, has over, like, it definitely has over 600 meters elevation. So you're looking in the
unbelievable.
region of 6 to 800 meters, right?
Mhm.
It literally just felt like I was running up like a Dublin mountain for most of it. Now look, what comes up must go down, I suppose. So the way Wales works is a four looped course, and this
Uh-huh.
isn't to try and put anyone off who's listened to the podcast. It is one of the best Ironmans, and I'm sure, as you can imagine, Milan's right. They've like a buzz around it is special. The people make it even more special. But yeah, the marathon was truly one of them moments I'll never forget. Um, but saying that, I managed to find a really good groove with it,
Mhm.
and I kind of had a thing in my head where I was like, look, no matter how much you're feeling that, like, sore, fatigued, the thing is you have to just keep going. You can't stop. So I tried to not allow myself to walk and to just even slow it down to a light jog. Um, and then obviously walk, obviously, like, you get your, like, a downhills as well. So I did make up a bit of time on the marathon, but overall I was really happy with the day itself, I have to say. So
Tell me
we
this:
won't be
I've
back though.
seen.
We're not going to be back. It's a ticked off, done, move on.
I hear you, brother, because I'm not going near Lanzarote again. Once bitten, twice shy. But what I was going to say to you was, I have seen some videos and some footage online of the atmosphere just before you go into the water, and it looks and sounds absolutely spectacular. Whenever I'm looking at that, you'll find the hairs in the back of my neck going up. The Welsh are all kind of on an elevated site looking down onto the beach, all singing the national anthem, and then the fireworks go up, and it just looks and sounds unbelievable. Was it even better in real life? I'm sure it was.
100%. I got tagged in some videos as well, similar to seeing what it was like. But when you actually get to experience it, the amount of people who are at that start line, spectators and athletes, all just as one, listening to the anthem, seeing the fireworks, it was truly spectacular. Obviously it's emotional. I was definitely crying. Most people were. You're
Uh-huh.
about to go and embark on something that, like, you've been training so long for, and it's finally at that moment, and then it just kind of hits reality, and it's like, holy shit, here we are. It
Uh-huh.
really was magical.
Absolutely amazing. And it'd be one that I would go to even just for that. It would be one that I would be thinking about going to at some point because it is such a bitch of a course, because it
Hmm.
is a brute of a thing, anybody that does that similar to Lanzarote, hats off. It's not for the faint hearted. So I think whenever you're talking about that particular marathon, we talk about the swim, the bike, and then the marathon, but that marathon has to be the most demanding marathon of all the Ironman marathons, I would imagine.
Hmm.
Has to be. Has to be.
Yeah, yeah. Like, it's very rare you're running by and you're not seeing someone stop and walking or having to, like, kind of stretch out a cramp or something like that. It's one of the marathons where I think, like, as I said, the amount of training you do, it will still not really prepare you for what's to come, because of how, I suppose, just how fierce it is. And thank God I had painkillers with me, because I think the painkillers were better than gels at this stage. It was taking them like it was nothing.
Yeah. And the bike course, of course, leaves your legs well and truly warmed up even before you get to the marathon because it's not flat at all either. I mean, the Welsh valleys and it goes up and down hills and over dales and all sorts of stuff. So,
Yeah.
um, but hey, what about after Wales? Given that that was your first Ironman, how did you feel afterwards? Thinking just even personally about what you had achieved and how far you had come. What was going through your
Mm.
mind?
Do you know what? Like, I don't think I've said this to many people, but I kind of hit a point 3 weeks out from Wales, 2 weeks out, where I was kind of done with it. I really was. I think I let the whole training consume my entire life. We'll say, I was building myself up to like 20 plus hours every week, and hit a point where I actually wasn't enjoying the training anymore. So obviously on the day itself, it's different because you're in the moment, and it was great even through all the hardship of the day. When I rang that bell, the moment, like, as you know yourself, it's something else. I can't even explain. As we're talking, of course, the hairs are going up. But yeah, I think for a week or two after Wales, it was quite similar to the way I was feeling beforehand. That was like, look, I'm glad it's over. I probably won't do another full distance again. Um, and I had Qashqai booked, right? So this is the funny thing. I actually tried emailing Ironman to ask for a deferral for next year's Qashqai. Okay, and they said to me, "Look, Joe, you're like, it has to be deferred in the same year, but sure, it's the last
The
70.3.
last one,
Yeah,
yeah.
so they wouldn't let me. So from the period, there was 3 weeks from Wales to Qashqai, and I'm not even messing. I barely trained. I was just enjoying myself. I was going out. I was seeing the lads. I was making up for all the months of not living that I done. Will say,
Yeah.
even though I loved it, but yeah, all them months, and Qashqai was one of the best races of my life. And
Hmm.
that really ignited the spark back in me that I needed, that I felt lost. And I think from Kashkoi, which was the 19th of October, it's just been kind of gone up and up and up, like motivational wise, results wise. I think I've been really lucky in the way that my mindset has now kind of settled back into the lifestyle, we call it, of triathlon and the training.
Yeah. And I suppose it's worth acknowledging that whenever we do sign up for full distance Ironman, there's a lot of sacrifices that we have to make, and there's a lot of demand, and a lot of time and energy goes into, you know, preparing yourself, body and mind, for that 140.66. So it is nice, and when it is over, it is nice just to lie back and think, oh, I don't have to go out for an 80-mile cycle this week. This is fucking brilliant. So,
Yeah,
but
you don't know what to be doing with
that's
yourself.
right. So it's perfectly natural. So you're back in the groove. You're back training. Portugal. So your 70.3 in Portugal went really well. And then recently you were back out racing again. I think you had a real good race recently there as well. You did 70.3 in Mallorca. Is that right?
That's right. So last podcast we would have talked about the what happened in Mallorca last year. I was over there and I was in a really bad crash, off the bike for over an hour. The other guy who crashed wasn't as lucky as me. He was hospitalised. It was really bad. So I just had some redemption that I needed to go back over there and sort of finish what I started. Um, so yeah, we were over this year, and we had a lot of athletes over from Explosive Endurance as well. So it was unbelievable to race on the course and then see your athletes and everyone there as well. But we came over the line in 4:48, which is
Absolutely fantastic.
that's massive PB. Like, it really was. The swim, I couldn't believe it. Like, I thought I had a pair of flippers on me. I was swimming that fast when I seen the result. I was like, this can't be happening. But again, it was like just all the hours that got put into that, and I think Mallorca itself is just one of them 70.3s that they put on an absolute show before
Mm.
the race, for all the different ceremonies to do. They even have a rave after. So like,
Oh,
you're
mighty!
getting,
What's
you know
not
what I
to
mean? You're
like?
paying for it, but you're getting it. You are. So it was
There's a
great.
bit of a spike in that bike course too, isn't there? When you look at the elevation on Strava, it's just this big, huge up and a big, huge down. Is that pretty much the long and short of the bike? You go way up that hill, come back down the other side, and away you go.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, so there's one climb goes on for around 13K maybe, and it's just a continuous climb. And then once you come to the top of that, really sketchy hair bends, like very, very kind of sharp turns. And then it's nice because you could almost say most of it is like a -1%, gradient. So like it's not flat, but you are getting what you kind of put in on the
Aye,
climb. So
yeah,
it definitely equals off, but you're still talking 900 meters for the 90K, which is
aye,
an honest punchy course.
absolutely. The run then, the run's a wee bit more. sensible than the Welsh run, but I suppose you've got a bit of heat to deal with too.
Yeah, the run. I don't know how I feel about the run. It's a 3 lap course. Um, but there's a certain section that's about 3 kilometers, maybe 4 kilometers long, where it's just one long stretch of road, and you can see the other people, and it's a big sort of U-turn around. But then you're onto the beach, and it's flat. That's the main thing. It's completely flat. There's one tiny bridge that's really steep, but it's only it's tiny.
Yeah,
And then the worst thing is when you're just going like you just finished a second lap, and you can see guys running to the finish line, and you're just like, I just want to run straight. I
yeah,
don't want to take a left and do another 7K.
yeah,
But yeah, it's a phenomenal course, and like that, there is heat, but thank God it wasn't too bad. I think it was around 22 degrees, which is manageable, but
yeah.
it's not absolutely scalding.
And then you will have been used to the heat anyway with your training setup. You would have had the old heat training and all that sort of crack, so you'd have been well fit for that anyway if it had have spiked.
Yeah, that's right. It is. We've up in the gym and the bike lab. We've got the heat setting on most of the weeks, so we sitting in there in 33 degrees. We can get it, and it's just boiling, boiling it off. But it all pays off. I think the more you adapt to your training, the better you'll be able to get it then during a race.
Absolutely. Um, Today is what date are we on today? It's the 1st of June today. And you did Athy
Mm,
yesterday, wasn't it?
yeah, yeah. So.
You made a good account of yourself, I think, as well in Athy, didn't you?
Yeah, it's high yesterday was it was definitely the one of the best performances I've ever done, especially in the Olympic distance. Um, it's a phenomenal race. Third year in a row doing it. I think you can never get sick of that race. More so just the community. What the Atoy Triathlon Club do down there, the way they put it on, they really facilitate everyone. My stepdad was doing 65. He has never done a triathlon before, and they kind of have the distances done. The try isn't your kind of standard distance for a try. They make the swim really nice, 250 meters downstream, so it's very beginner friendly. But then they
True.
test you on the bike and the run. You're still doing your 20K cycle, and it's
Aye.
4K run. So, but yeah, it was a phenomenal race, and it was the first time I felt like I could really kind of give it. Especially, it's weird, right? Because usually when I'm racing, like I never kind of like I think about the competitors or who's racing or who do I have to beat. It's always just beating myself. Always just try and knock time off, beat whatever you got last time. But I felt like kind of coming into this, I'm like, you know what, Joe, your numbers are looking good. You're on a new bike. You might be able to, like get a few places, like get down from what you done last time. So, yeah, we pushed hard, came out of water, kind of average enough out of water, but then on the bike, we put on a solid bike and managed to do an even better run. So 23rd overall of
Brilliant.
over 900. So it was a real kind of I feel it's a breakthrough result for me because it was I think 10 minutes taken off my last Olympic distance. So even
Brilliant.
to just have that in itself is massive for what's ahead. You know.
And you had a top 10 finish then in your age group, isn't that right?
That's right. Yeah. Um, sixth in the age group.
And
So.
and make no mistake about it, Joe, that was a stacked race,
mm, the
So
national
I mean,
national series, all the big dogs come to
that's
see what
right.
they can
So
do.
you are punching in and around there now, boy.
Well, it's a little bit early. I've still got a bit of work to do. If I can get that swimming knocked off, I think I'll be able to say that.
Yeah.
But interesting enough now, this year it's going to be some changes next year. This year has been really Ironman focused, middle distance and full distance, doing the Copenhagen full distance as well. So we've still got a lot of races to do this year. But next year I'm making the transition to short course.
Uh-huh.
So you're actually one of the first people to know as well, Mickey. So now
Brilliant.
everyone's gonna know. But yeah, I feel that it's time to focus on national series next year.
Yeah.
It's never been something I've done before, but I do love a challenge, and I think if I can start working towards sprint and Olympic and leave the longer distance for a year, it'll be nice to see really how fast you can go.
I think you're doing this because firstly, you're seeing the results in the longer distance, but I think you will be a great success in that shorter punchier stuff because you'll have done the long distance first.
Mhm.
Most people do it the other way about. Most
Yeah.
people work their way up. You've worked your way up quite quickly into the long distance, the half distance, the fulls. You've committed fully to those things, and the amount of training that you've done and the amount of foundation work that you've laid down already will leave you spitting like you're going to be on fire whenever it comes to that short stuff. I've no doubt. The explosive Joseph will be the boy to watch.
The explosive fella.
Uh huh. Oh, that's
Yeah, we
brilliant.
give it a bash and we'll see. Again, it's just for the fun of it. Like I just love having the crack. I never put pressure on myself to having to go out there and like a race is a race. You, like put it all out, and if you do well, you do well. If you don't do well, you just learn and go again. There's never hardship to be done in a bad result. It's again just back to the drawing board. Make sure you show up to that race with a smile on your face. You
Uh-huh.
know, if something doesn't go right, if you get a puncture, if whatever happens, it's just another day. That's all it is,
Yeah,
And I think we're lucky to be able to get to look at it that way because I know a lot of people kind of will go a bit deeper, and I think it's great to also know that the main reason we're doing this is because you want to do it, and you want to have fun with it, and it's great to look at it like that way.
absolutely. And then it's not the end of the world, if you have to ditch a small race, a local race. There's plenty of them, and they're all really well run, really well organized, really well supported. And there's no such thing as an easy race whenever you're fighting for a podium, so you're going to get that turnaround. And all isn't lost either with regards to the volume of training that we have to do for the full distance. You can chip away and maintain a real good solid level of training for that sprint and Olympic distance that doesn't stretch you too much. I know you're very busy outside of your own sport with your businesses, your coaching, and all that sort of stuff. So it's probably more of a balance thing for you too. So Copenhagen is the next biggie coming up for you. Is that right?
Well, yeah, so that's the A one. The big daddy, we'll call it.
Uh huh.
But we are, so we've got Sheephaven up next. That's
Yep.
going to be interesting up in Donegal.
It's
Uh,
brilliant. Yep.
is it? Have you done it before?
I did it. Yeah, I did it whenever I did it in 23 in the run up to Cork. Spectacular bike, hilly bike, demanding. It's a demanding
Mm.
bike course. Um, Depending on the weather, it's sea swim. It's got the Aussie. Well, it had the Aussie exit. I think they've put it back now, so it's just 2 laps without coming out. And the runs, I think the run is a 3-lap run, couple of wee hills in it. So it's an honest race. It really is. Yeah, you'll do well at it. You'll enjoy it.
Good stuff. I'll be on to you for a few tips on that one.
Uh huh.
But yeah, so Sheephaven was up next on the 28th of June, and then we're using that as a bit of a stepping stone for Waterville. So we've got Waterville 2 weeks after that, and I'm really going to give a socks on Waterville because I know last year I came eighth overall, and
Right. Yeah.
it was my first official top 10 finish. And I think on this year, if I can go back and use a TT bike and not a road bike, we'll see what sort of damage you can do. See if we can
Brilliant
get a
stuff.
podium, Mickey. What do you reckon?
I reckon. Hey, there's no better man. Absolutely. Get that old aero helmet on you and away you go.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Hey,
So that's
there's
so that's the plan then into Copenhagen in August, and then we'll finish off in Kashkoy for the 70.3,
brilliant.
and yeah, that'll be the sort of the Ironman season done. Also, the reason why I wanted to do a lot of Ironman this year is because we came second in Ireland last year um in the Ironman. What's the thing called? Like AWA.
Oh
Sorry,
yeah,
I
yeah,
forgot
yeah.
the name. So we came second in the AWA. So it's important now to try and get that top spot.
Oh,
So
absolutely. Go at
and
it.
I
Get
yeah.
after it.
So I said to myself, I says, go on, we'll go for it and see if we can get that the gold cap, and then we'll transition over.
Oh, mighty stuff, mighty stuff. I don't know how my phone's gonna cope this year. On the 17th of August, which is Copenhagen Ironman Day, because I think there's over 24 there may be 26 people from Oma Triathlon Club all going out to do Copenhagen
Oh
Ironman
wow.
that day. So there's a big posse of OTC guys will be out there. So I'll tell them to keep an eye out for you too. So that'll be cool. My phone will be pinging all day long.
Yeah. You have
But
notifications coming out of your arse.
yeah. So look, thanks very much, hey, for coming on. Great sport. Great to catch up with you again. You're looking brilliant. You're sounding great, and very excited to see what's coming ahead for you in the near future. All the best.
Thanks very much, Mickey. It's always great to come on. And like best of luck as well. Looking forward to seeing if we can get into the Royal Man area. You never know.
Well, someone has now mentioned the word trilogy, so I haven't spoke to the wife yet. Like, but dot.
Yeah, we'll leave it there.
Our next athlete to go back to the future is Bear Carton. Bear, very welcome back onto the podcast.
Thank you. It's great to be back.
The last time you and I spoke, Bear, it was just towards the end of October 24. And we finished off that particular episode looking into the future, which is now the past. And we talked about your a big ultra event that was in the pipeline for you in Morocco. So quite excited to find out if you went ahead with that, and if so, how you got on.
Yeah, well, I did go ahead with it. I didn't really have any choice. I don't know if you remember, but I only signed up for the event actually 5 weeks before it was going to happen. And then I just done the Dublin Marathon after I spoke to you, just before I spoke to you. And then I literally had 2 weeks. And it was to be a 2-day ultra covering 110 kilometers over the 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
But what I had decided was that I was gonna raise some money for a charity, kind of like to make money for the charity. Obviously, it was a children's cancer charity, Hand in Hand charity, who are based in Galway, and they supply and offer support services to families and kids going through cancer treatment. I know 2 friends of mine have nephews at the moment who are undergoing treatment for different forms of leukemia. So that's where that idea came from. But then from my own perspective, I knew that if I had something like that in mind, that it would help me to keep going when the times got tough. Because I wasn't trained for this kind of event. I had done an ultra at the end of the summer, and I had done the Dublin Marathon training, but like that's not the exact training that you would need for a 2-day ultra event in the desert.
Mm-hmm.
So I really wasn't sure going into it if I would even succeed. Like, I actually, a friend asked me recently, have you ever done a race where you actually went into it thinking you might DNF? And I was like, yeah, Morocco. Like, it's not that long ago, but I really genuinely wasn't sure that I would be able. Like, I just didn't know. So it was very much like, right, I'm going on this thing. I'm doing it as an adventure. I'm hoping to make some money for the charity, and we'll see how it goes. But like in the back of my mind, like I've got years of endurance training behind me. Like I started training for endurance events in 2016, like with 70.3s and stuff like that. Like you've got all that behind you. And I think people sometimes forget that all of that training is still there, even if you
Mm-hmm.
haven't done like the specific training for an event. All of that training over the years is cumulatively there, as
Mm-hmm.
well as like the mental training of doing endurance events. Because I don't know, and I know you've just come out of an endurance event, but like I do feel like it's about 70% mental and about 30% is what you can physically do. Because if you let your mind get the better of you, then like it doesn't matter what you physically trained yourself to do. If your mind doesn't believe that you can do it,
Absolutely.
So yeah, I very much went into it thinking, right, let's go see what happens. So yeah, do you want me to ruin the surprise that I did actually make it to the finish line?
Yes. Let's cut to the chase.
Cut to the chase. I did make it.
Way good stuff.
Hey, and
As if it was ever in doubt.
well, it really was. In
Well,
my
they
head
do say
beforehand,
that.
it really was.
Yeah, they do say that if you know if at the beginning of an event you've signed up for something and it doesn't scare you, or you aren't nervous, then you haven't given yourself an adequate challenge. So you had sort of jitters about this one, and you were a wee bit iffy about whether or not you would do it, but you got there. So
Yeah, and like
talk us through your
it's a,
journey.
yeah, it's a whole journey though, those events, like, and as I said, like, going into something knowing that you've physically prepared for it is one thing, but going into it and being like, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, legitimately do not know what my body's going to do when I get up on day 2. Like, it was scary, but I really had to not think about it. And I really had to kind of have a sensible plan going into it as well, like, in terms of what way I was going to approach it. Like, I remember just thinking to myself beforehand, you've got to kind of control what you're doing. You can't kind of get carried away at any moment in it. Like, it's very easy to get caught, like, carried away with downhills and things like that, and that kind of thing kills you because it really burns, like, your quads and stuff up. So I just had to be really sensible. So I went into it just being like, right, keep your heart rate in zone 2, run the runnable bits. And I love the word runnable because what's runnable for me is different for what's runnable for you, what's different for the other person that's standing beside you. Like, the bits that you feel are runnable, and then that also changes as you go through the race. Like, what you think is runnable at 20k might be very different at 50k. So it's just very much about, like, I suppose, controlling what you can control, because there's lots of things that you can't control in those situations.
That's a
But
big secret,
the
isn't it?
weather gods were looking down on me because even though it was in the desert, they had rain the night before.
Lovely.
And I got up and it was cloudy and rainy, and I was like, right, the weather gods are looking down on this freckly Irish lass now. And we pretty much had cloud cover for most of the day until I think I was about nearly 30k in, like, when it started to get hot. And the second day as well, like, it was just, yeah, really had the weather gods looking down on me because I would have been toasted otherwise. But I don't know. Do you want me to kind of take you through what happened in the race, or?
I'm interested to find out just about, when you talk about what's runnable. I'm actually in my head thinking about the terrain because it was in a desert. So was there any actual marked out roads or things like that? Or were you going by
Yeah,
compasses
so
or just flags or markers or?
they did tell you to have the route downloaded, the GPX file on your Garmin beforehand. But I have to say, like, the company that was running this event they're called Ultra X, and they very much design their events for you to succeed. Like, they have really flexible finish times. Like, as in, I feel like you could walk a huge portion of it and still finish. Like, they don't have strict cut-off times like other companies do have. So they really build these events for you to succeed. It was really well laid out. The aid stations, the staff were just, and volunteers were just, like, top class. And yeah, but, like, you did have to carry all of your own food and stuff. Like, there was in the pre-race brief, it was like, there will be no food provided. It will be literally water top-ups and electrolyte top-ups at the aid stations. You have to carry everything yourself. And they made that very clear, and there was still people who didn't carry enough. Like, I actually had to give stuff to a guy at one point in the race because I was like, he's not going to make it if he doesn't eat something, like, because he hadn't packed anything. He was like, I didn't read that, and I was like, they made it really clear.
Yeah, 2 days in the desert.
I think it was like every fifth line in the race brief was, make sure you pack your own stuff. But anyway, yeah, like that company, I would highly recommend if you were thinking of taking on an ultra event to look into that company, because they really do want you to succeed. They want you to have the experience of doing an ultra, whether you're running the whole thing or whether you're walking most of it. And yeah, there was such a huge array of people there to do it. Like, there was people, I don't know what the finish times even on day one were, but there was people still coming in like 11, 12 hours later for 50k. And that was fine. There was no cut off. It's just get over the line.
And tell me, was the scenery nice, or was it, because it sounds a bit bleak? You know, it sounds quite barren. It's a desert, so it sounds, because I've never seen it, it kind of sounds like there's not much to see, just big long sand dunes and the odd camel in the distance. But maybe it's not like that at all.
I don't know if sometimes when we think of the desert, we think of like literally that orange sand of the Sahara. Like, it wasn't, even though like the Atlas Mountains are on the edge of the Sahara, it wasn't like that. It was more like, yes, it was sand, and yes, it was kind of that kind of beigey stuff, but there is a good chunk of good parts of like Morocco that have a lot of green as well. Like, like the first part that we ran through was like farm fields and stuff.
All right, okay.
Like, they wouldn't have looked like our farm fields, but they were farm fields, and they were growing their vegetables and stuff. And we ran through a lot of like old villages and stuff, which probably, I suppose, to us look like they should be abandoned towns, but they're not. They're very much livable towns. And there was so many people out saying hello and waving at you, and kids out giving high fives and things like that. It was really very cool. But I don't know that I would say it felt bleak. Definitely not on day one anyway. There was a lot of variety in the what's the word I'm looking for? Surroundings. I did see some camels.
Good.
I did see some camels. It picked me up actually, because what happened was, like, and in hindsight's a great thing. I hadn't, like, while I knew there was like a decent amount of elevation in it, I hadn't factored in that potentially you could feel the impact of altitude sickness. And when I left checkpoint 1 to checkpoint 2 on day 1, I started to feel really nauseous and sick, and I got really worried that, like, I'm not taking on enough fuel. And like, you know yourself, if you're not taking on fuel in an endurance event, like, you're going to crash and burn at some point. And I was even more hyper conscious of it, because it's one thing to do a 1-day event, but then to have to do it again the next day, you can't fuck up your nutrition on day 1.
Absolutely.
So I was like, right, just keep taking the liquid nutrition and just keep going with that, because I couldn't get anything else in. I just felt like I was going to puke the whole time. And then I got to checkpoint 2, and it came down into this beautiful oasis. Like, you'd been in the desert, like up and around these kind of hills and through the desert and stuff, and then you came down this, like, what looked like an abandoned old town, like in a valley, and you came around this bend, and all of a sudden there was like a river and this lush oasis of like green palm trees and stuff. It was absolutely amazing. And coming out of that aid station, I literally got cramps and everything. I was like, oh, this is so bad. This is like, I've never had this before. And I wasn't using anything different or any of the kind of obvious things that you'd kind of be looking at going, well, sure, that was a stupid thing. You know, you brought that to eat and that's after messing up your stomach. But I hadn't. Like, I literally was sticking with the plan. And at that point, it just became, right, just get to the next checkpoint. Just get to the next checkpoint. Because then, you know, you just give yourself a goal, a short goal, because it's only maybe 10, 12k away, just get to the next one. And then when we got to checkpoint 3, I sat down on the ground and one of the volunteers helped me fill my bottles. And he was like, go on, hang in there now. But the little secret now to tell you, he was like, there's bananas and Coke at aid station 4. And I was like, stop. I was like, I never got so excited about a banana and a can of Coke. I was like, if I can get to that aid station, that's it. I'm going to be fine. Who knew you could get so excited about a banana and a can of Coke? But
it's amazing what wee tricks and what wee things you'll cling on to. Just, like, holy shit, there's nothing stopping you now from getting to those bananas and a can of Coke, maybe. Yeah.
And I literally walked out of that aid station and I forced myself to eat like a cereal bar. And I was like, right, just get to the next aid station now because that can of Coke is waiting for you. And I was laughing about it with the lads afterwards because you know the way they'd have content creators and videos and people taking videos and stuff. And at the checkpoint 4, there's about a 3-second clip of me like necking a can of Coke with a big happy smile on my face. And it's made the cut in every single video. And I'm like, oh, like, but that was literally the highlight of the day.
Forget the medal and the kudos. It was all about the Coke.
Yeah. But I remember passing, like, I got like my second win somewhere between that check. It was like the top. I genuinely believe it was the top of the banana and the Coke. Like, I got a second win on the way to checkpoint 4, and I went past this guy, and he was like, "Go on, you're moving really well." And I was like, "I'm moving really well now, but don't be fooled. 20 minutes ago, I was not feeling good."
Mm-hmm.
And it's just bizarre that like you can get this like second wind, I suppose, 35k into a desert run. Like it's a bizarre thing to say, but it happens. This is what happens in endurance events. And once you ride the low, you'll come back out of it again if you just keep getting stuff on board, and if you just keep like staying positive and not let that kind of like that chimp in your brain. They call it the chimp brain, don't they? Once you don't let that guy take over, you will kind of come out of the lull of the roller coaster and get back up again. But I literally bounced out of checkpoint 4 after me, half a banana me, half a can of Coke.
Good stuff.
But yeah, and then I suppose like you just take it off then, don't you? Like in chunks. So like I think at that point I was like 15 kilometers to go. I can do 15 kilometers. I can do that. Like I know I can physically do that. So it was just like, right, crack on. But like the one thing about those events as well is that like if you're not necessarily running with somebody, like you might be going back and forth with the same set of people for a period of time, but like I literally ran most of that day on my own. Like and that takes its toll when you've been on your own, in your own head, in your own thoughts for like 40k. Like that takes its toll then.
Yeah.
And it got a bit hot around that part of the day as well. But like I just kept pushing on because I think in my head I was like, oh, I'm going to do a 50k PB today if I just keep moving. All I have to do is keep moving. I don't need to like put any huge effort in. Like I'm going well, like. But I like the last checkpoint I think was about 6k to go, and you just think, yeah, 6k, sure, that's nothing. Like, my God, was that 6k hard? Like it's like you're so close, but it takes so long to get there.
Yeah.
And they had to change the route because there was a river crossing at the end of it, and because of the rain the night before, they couldn't actually physically let us go across the river because it was like white. Well, I wouldn't say white water. When I actually saw it later in the day, it was brown. It was disgusting. It was rapid. So the last 2.5 kilometers were on tarmac road. That was the worst 2.5 kilometers of the day because like it just sucks the life out of you when you've been running on like trail all day and then you get to this like hot tarmac. But yeah, I got there and crossed the line and literally sat on the chairs at the other side of the line. And I was like, I need to eat the picnic that I didn't eat while I was out on the trail. because I'm like lacking in serious calories here now. So I sat there eating my picnic and talking to people, and I was like, I still don't want to eat this shit, but I'm making myself eat it because I know I have to make up the calories because I have to go again tomorrow. But yeah, it was bizarre. Like, and it was bizarre sitting around like this campsite with all these people who were there to do it again tomorrow. And there was very much a kind of, I don't know, like an air of delusion there. Like everybody was just in denial.
That's what I was going to ask. I was going to ask just what was going through your head after doing, because it's very, very demanding. It's physically, mentally, emotionally very demanding to do an ultra or any of those big endurance events. But the thought of then, getting up the next morning to go at it again with potentially a wee bit more elevation and knowing that maybe the weather's going to be more demanding or more dramatic or hot or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm sort of thinking, was everybody just kind of sitting around eerily looking at each other thinking, oh shit? Or was there a semi excitement, or what was the vibe?
It was bizarre. Like I don't even really know how to describe it. Like I just remember us all being sitting around, but it was definitely an air of like denial about it. Like nobody really wanted to talk about the fact that we had to do it again.
We'll just say nothing and hope for the best. We'll just get up,
and like,
say nothing, and get on with it.
You're sat around this campfire on these like, the giant Moroccan, the kind of Middle Eastern cushions that they put around campfires, and we're all just lying around on those. And it's like, if you even move your calf, you're going to get a cramp.
Yeah.
But you're just like, it's fine. And you're like pushing yourself up into a standing position thinking, it's all going to be fine.
It's going to be okay.
Yeah. But so one of the bizarre things as well was I had been chatting to this girl at breakfast that morning as I was contemplating my life decisions over the breakfast table, and she had done one of these events before, and when I got in I ended up chatting to her again, and she was like, you're in 5th place for today. And I was like, what? This is bizarre. She's like, yeah, 5th place in the women. Like I think she was sitting in 2nd place at that point. And I was like, oh my God, that's mental. Like,
Brilliant.
I just had no concept of like where anybody else was in the race or what, that really was not important to me. But when she said it to me, I was like, that's crazy. Like, that's just bizarre. But anyway, we were sleeping in tents, and about 2:00 in the night, it started to piss raining. And I was just under like a gap between the tents, potentially, I think is what happened. So I could feel the few drops of rain. But we were literally like lined up in this tent. Like I had to literally like roll over and scooch over beside the poor guy beside me to try and get away from the waterfall of rain that came down through the tent. Oh, the poor guy, he must have sensed me moving because he moved pretty quickly as well. And I was like, oh, I'm really sorry about that. But
the old Irish blood just automatically, attracted the wetness. The rain just found you. Like there's no escaping it.
Well, my friend actually did get full on rained on, and he was literally saturated. I think then I was awake from 3:00 until whatever time we had to get up at. To go again. But I had been asleep, I think, from about 7 or 8 o'clock. I just could not like stay up. I'm sure I was asleep by 8 o'clock in the evening. Like it was mad.
That's the best thing you've done though, in fairness.
Yeah, I had also I've been texting a friend the night before, and I said, tomorrow is going to be really hard, but it would be really good if I had somebody to just run with. I don't know. I think the gods were the ultra gods were listening to me, because about 6-7K into day 2, I started kind of running alongside this girl, and normally what happens, yourself, is like somebody moves on, somebody drops back, and you end up in that kind of back and forth kind of situation. But we just had the same kind of footfall, and we got to the first aid station, and she was like, "What's your plan?" And I was like, keep moving, because somehow my legs are working okay today and I don't want to jinx it, so I'm just going to keep moving until it doesn't keep moving anymore.
Yeah.
She was like, okay, that's my plan as well. And she was like, maybe we'll try and stay together. And I was like, yeah, okay. But also in the back of my mind, I don't like that pressure. I don't know what you're like, but I don't
I'm
like
the
the idea
same.
of being
Yeah.
paced. I don't like
Yeah.
having to feel like I have to keep up with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of gets the better of me mentally if I feel like I'm pushing myself to keep up with somebody. But it never really worked out that way. Like, we just kind of cruised along, walked little bits when we both felt like walking, ran little bits. And I did think at some point in the day we're going to get separated because she'll probably push on or one of us is going to hit a wall at some point. But no, like my legs just kept moving.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy. Like I still think about it and I'm like, how how did that happen? Like my body was just going. And like the views on for the first part of day two were pretty cool. Like we came to this UNESCO and ran around this world UNESCO site, and like this big valley opened up in front of us at one point, and it was just like it was like something out of another planet. Like
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, we just plodded along together, and I think we joked at a couple of times like that we were just running along in shared silent suffering because we weren't talking all the time. We were just like we just knew the other person was there.
Yeah, there's no point complaining to someone who's going through the same shit as you half the
Yeah,
time. Like, I
it was
suppose,
just shared
what's she
silent
going to do?
suffering was the
Like,
phrase. Yeah, shared silent suffering.
brilliant.
And I still haven't come up with a better explanation for it than that. We just like she was just there and I was just here and we were just plodding along and we walked at the same time and we ran at the same time. And then like once we got past that World UNESCO site, I suppose we were about 25k in at that point, and it opened out into this wide open desert. Now, this is going back to what you said about it being just maybe banal and boring and wide open desert, and that's when the wide open desert boring hit in. You could see for miles, and all you could see was straight, flat path and sand. And like you could then out of nowhere you'd see this like little white mirage of a tent, and it would take forever to get there, but that was the checkpoint. Oh, yeah, and there was a headwind just to top it all off. But I think actually the headwind was the saving grace because otherwise we'd have been toasted under the sun.
Yeah.
It was just like the wind is what kind of kept our body temperatures down. Yeah, and then like my feet started to hurt about 35k in. And I got to one of the checkpoints and I thought, will I take my shoes off and see what's going on? And I'm so glad I didn't, because
Good.
I think that would have been like the worst thing to do. Because once I left that aid station, I got this like absolute like I don't know, have you ever had blisters before?
I had blisters during the run there in Lanzarote. Yeah, on both feet. It's not pleasant.
No, I've never had blisters before like that where they've popped while I was running. And the pain, oh my god, like the pain of that was like worse than anything else. But I just, like back to having the charity to do it for, every time something felt hard or every time I felt like shit, this feels really, really hard right now, I just kept throwing it back to, you're not a 4-year-old kid going through leukemia treatment. Like the pain and the illness and the nausea that they're going through on a daily basis is so much harder than anything that you're going to do right now. So, and like that's what got me through the last kind of 15k of that day, because like my feet were in bits, the body was like, what are you doing? You're still going. Yeah, and it was just like, right, shut up toes, get over it. Like what you're going through right now is nothing compared to what they're doing, what those kids are going through every day. So yeah, they stuck a nice little mountain hill in about 46 kilometers into the 50k on day 2. So that was really nice of them. And then when you got out over the top of it, you could see. So it was finishing at this place called Atlas Studios, which is where they filmed a lot of the, like Gladiator and those kind of movies that would be filmed in the desert. And like loads of the infrastructure is still there, like that they would have built for those races or built for those movies. So you can see this, like what you think is the end line, and then you get there and you run around this, like what would have been like a scene in Gladiator probably, and then realize you've got another kilometer to go.
The twist at the plot at the end of the movie, eh?
Yeah. But yeah, it was unreal. Like, and then I got to the end line and my watch didn't say 50k. I had about 200 meters to go, so I had to walk around for 200 meters to make it say 50. Because I somehow managed to set another PB on the 50k on day 2 because we just kept moving. Like it was bizarre. Like it's absolutely nuts to me retelling this story because it seems like such a surreal thing. Like to have gone into something not being sure that you could do it, and then for your body to physically do it. Yeah, I just think the body is an incredible thing. If you can manage your mind and like not let kind of doubt and stuff like that get to you, especially in an endurance event, because I don't know, like I think people think that everybody, no matter whether they're fully trained or not, goes into these events and like knows they can do it and knows they can achieve whatever goal they set out. But like, and I know that in an endurance event, like it's not all going to be happy dappy all the time. No. It doesn't matter how much training you've done. At some point, you're going to hit a point where you're questioning, what are you doing?
Yep. And why you can't factor in all the if spots.
Why are you here?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is really, really hard. Like, but that's why it's called endurance, isn't it? Like, because like it's in those hard moments where where your resilience and your grit and your determination kind of like gets you through the hard part, so that you can kind of like succeed. It's not because we're not doing it because it feels good all the time.
No, it definitely doesn't.
It's not going to feel good all the time.
It's one of those things that we reflect on and think, wow, we did that, like,
yeah.
It's cool. It's cool listening to you and seeing you relive it. You can tell that it means so much to you to be able to reflect on it now. I know it's a long time ago now, like, but even just looking back now, that it has well and truly sunk in, and the idea of getting back to back 50k PBs one day after another, again, something special. And something that you said at the beginning of the thing was, that whilst you felt that you maybe hadn't trained specifically, you had years of endurance training under your belt already.
Yes.
And that's resonating with me as well. And that's something that I think a lot of people might take a wee bit from as well moving forward. Anybody that's thinking about moving up to a 70.3 or moving from a 70.3 up to a full distance or moving from marathon to ultra, the notion of that you've got those miles in you, you've banked a lot of stuff, and to take that forward, the foundation's there.
Yeah, the foundation kind of is physically there, but also like mentally. Like I said to somebody before I went into that race, I was like, right, I know it's going to be hard. I'm under no illusion that this is going to hurt me physically and hurt me mentally, like at certain points. But like the only thing that's going to make me stop moving forward is if somebody pulls me off the course, or if I get an injury and I physically can't, because I know I won't give up, because I've done enough of these things already to know that you can still keep going. And that's like, that experience comes with time as well, I think, of doing endurance over time. Is like, you can't go out every day and expect to have the best race and expect to have it go exactly as you would want it to go, because it's the nature of the beast. Like,
Yeah.
that's just not how endurance sports work. Like, and even in triathlon, sure, like you were going into that race the other week, like, having trained for how long,
Mm-hmm.
and like you could have had a bike mechanical.
Yeah,
You
that's
could have
right.
had, like, one little thing could go wrong. Like, and triathlon, I feel like there's even more things can go wrong in a triathlon because you've got three different sports. At least with running, it's just you and your legs and your brain and your lungs.
The longer these
Um,
things go on, the more chance there are or is of something going wrong.
yeah,
In your case, you're talking about an event that spanned 2 days, and a lot of things can happen in 2 hours, let alone
yeah,
2 days. Do you know what I mean? So,
yeah,
and that could be from the weather, from your hydration, your electrolyte levels,
yeah,
all sorts of stuff. One misplaced footing on a downhill on a trail, and it's a broken ankle.
yeah, yeah,
So, um, yeah, it's being able to overcome those curveballs when we meet them and keep plodding on.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
how?
And then,
No,
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's absolutely amazing to be able to catch up with you again and to relive all that stuff. I'm curious to find out because I know you've been doing a fair wee bit of running and you've been doing a bit of cycling. I'm kind of seeing you doing a lot of stuff on Strava. Any notions of going back into triathlon over the next foreseeable?
Oh, this is funny because loads of people say this to me, right? Because I do still train like a triathlete. Um, and the quote of the moment is that I train like a triathlete, but I don't identify as one.
All right, okay. And in the world that we live
This
in,
whole
you're
idea
entitled
of
to identify in whatever way you
this,
wish.
yeah, no, and it's the phrase of the moment, isn't it? Like, how do you identify at the moment? And I just I was like, I do train like a triathlete, but I don't identify as one. I
You're like
actually
a
haven't done it.
is it like a non-practicing triathlete?
Yeah, you know what it is? My body just works better training as a triathlete. Like,
Yeah,
my body responds better to the different stimulus. Like, I like swimming. I like swimming is good for me for this reason. I like cycling, I like running, but I like going to running events because it's just me and running.
yeah, yeah.
Like, I don't like the stress that I used to feel before triathlons because of the swim. And I did it for so long and I fought it for so long. And like, even the other day I was like, maybe I should just go and sign up for a triathlon. Like, come on. It's been over a year now. You could just sign up for a race and do it. Like, you're training like a triathlete anyway. I just can't get myself to book a triathlon because it's the open water swimming. Like, I actually
Yeah,
legitimately have not swam in the sea since, or in open water since the last race I did, because I just, it's just too much. Like, it's just
yeah.
too
No,
scary
that's
for me.
fair enough. That's fair enough. That's
And I did it for so long, and I know I could do it again. But yeah, it's funny because loads of people have asked me that question: are you going to do a triathlon again? And I'm like, well, I'm just not identifying as a triathlete at the moment.
I'm gonna accept that as the coolest response to that question, and that's now official. Anybody that's listening, she's not identifying as a triathlete at the minute, and that's her prerogative. Okay, so just back off.
Yeah.
You know.
But I think, like, I suppose one of the lessons I've learned as well over the last few months, well, the last year and a half, because I haven't, like, I know these are serious events that I've done, say, like that Morocco one was a serious event to do. Like, I've just been doing what I want for the enjoyment of it. Like, I love I love getting out and going for the trail run. I love getting out and doing the odd IMRA race because they're just so friendly and so chilled and so relaxed. And I love just getting out and doing stuff because I want to do it. Or
Mhm.
going for my social spins with the girls and things like that, because that's where your longevity in the sport comes from. I think it's actually having that enjoyment for it. And it's okay to not have a race goal, and it's okay to not have a big event to train for. You can just do this stuff because you like doing it.
Mhm. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, 100%.
And yeah, and I did have this, like I had a niggle there for a little while. I had my first ever DNS. Like, how many years am I doing this now? 2000, near like 9 years, and this is my first year I've ever had a DNS because I
Okay.
had a niggle in my knee there back at the start of April, and I was training for an event, and I was like, no, there's something not right here. But had an MRI, was with the physio, couldn't figure it out. Took rest off running for 3-4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks. Actually, I wasn't really running other than like a 3K here or a 5K there to kind of test it out. And turns out maybe I'm just of the age where I get phantom pains now.
Oh dear.
Yeah, because I just didn't run for 3 or 4 weeks and the pain went away. But I was cycling, like I reignited my graw for cycling in that few weeks. But yeah, I just thought that was funny as well. I was like, seriously, I've reached an age now where phantom pains exist, and there can be nothing wrong with it, but there's a pain
Yeah. Well, look,
that makes you stop.
we do put ourselves through a fair bit of training, so I suppose it catches
We
up
do.
with us at some point. And I suppose if we didn't get the wee niggles, we would never stop. So it might be a blessing in disguise, that time out.
True, true. And I think that's the lesson. Like, a friend said to me, she was like, while the physio can't physically find anything wrong, and the MRI is maybe not showing that something's wrong, your body is telling you something is wrong.
Hmm.
So you have to listen, or you'll just end up kind of prolonging the process.
Yeah, yeah,
And I suppose that's another pro of having something else to do. Like, if I was just a runner, I could have found those 4 or 5 weeks incredibly tough mentally.
yeah. That's
But
right.
knowing that I could get out and burst away on my bike and things like that means that, like, you've got something else and
Yeah.
change your focus and things like that. But yeah, it's been great to catch up with you again. I really enjoy. I think you've got a really good way of talking to people and bringing it out of people
Thank you.
um, on your program. So thank you.
No, that's brilliant. It's been absolutely amazing chatting to you again, Bear, and you keep on doing what you do, and
Yeah,
don't let anybody else tell you any otherwise. And when you're ready to come out as a triathlete, we'll all be waiting here, ready and willing, and cheering you on whenever you get into the water. But look after yourself and take care.
thank you. All the best.
My next guest, going back to the future, is Carl Farker. Carl, you're very welcome back on the podcast. Great to see you again.
Thanks very much, kid. Welcome. Glad to be back.
The last time you and I spoke, Carl, was the middle of August, would you believe, last year.
I think it was.
You were well on your way to, in the middle of your challenge, your 52 triathlons in 52 weeks. I think at that point you were talking about moving up from doing Olympic distances. So correct me if I'm wrong. You started off doing sprint distances, then you moved up to Olympic distances, and then you were going to move up to half distance, so 70.3s for the. What was the breakdown in that again, Carl? Because
That
I can't remember.
was 4 months of sprints, then another 4 months of Olympics, and then the last 4 months were half Ironman 70.3s. So they were, and then we finished off with a nice wee 52, 52, and 52, which was a 5.2k swim, 52k bike, and a 52k run, which, if you want to put that into miles, is 34 miles.
Unbelievable. Absolutely insane. I remember at the time thinking doing 52 triathlons in 52 weeks was a wee bit nuts anyway. But the bit that actually got me, the bit that freaked me out was the jump up in the distances from sprint to Ollie and then from Ollie up to 70.3. I'm curious to find out how the half distance week after week for 4 months, how did that work for you? How did you find it? How did you cope with it? Because I know finding motivation even to do something the day after you do an event is tight, but week after week after week.
Yeah, well, that one, Mickey, simple was, you're going from week to week. You're doing it. Most of them was done on a Sunday. It was out with the club and the cycle and whatnot, so it worked out really well. The club were massive help, like to me. And then you go into recovery mode for a couple of days, and then you start, get a wee bit of swimming done, a wee bit of biking, just to keep the legs ticking over, and then you go again. And that was pretty much the last 4 months of last year. Was that, well, I can say a sacrifice where it is or not. It's just that's what it was for constant every week for 4 months. So it was. And motivation wise, to be fair, there was a few times you're kind of going, ugh, bugger this, I can't be bothered. But the simple thing that got me going every time was I just thought of the Middle Ulster Stroke Survivors group that they were doing it for. And it was pretty much easy. I've been around and seen them a few times during the year. When you're seeing them people there that are far worse off than I ever was, when you're looking going, they can't do what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the biggest motivation you're going to get. Like, and that just kicked me backside and that, and you just kept on going, and it was never an issue then.
Thinking back to your podcast and how your own personal journey and how you came through your stroke and how you regrouped and rebuilt and got yourself back on track, must have given you a certain sense of strength, because I was thinking to myself, I was often thinking about you, and I was thinking, poor Carl has to do a fucking half distance triathlon today, and it is freezing cold and it is pissing rain. And I thought about it, and I thought to myself, you're able to do that, and maybe that's what's getting you through it. Is that close to the
Oh, very,
mark?
very much so. The fact is, it could have been a lot worse. But again, as I said on the podcast before, I never dwelt on what happened to me. It just, I was lucky. I got away with it. In my eyes, I got away with it. A lot of people don't. But you also have to turn around. There is a party at times as you get a wee bit older. You look back and you go, "What if?" But I don't. As I say, I don't dwell on it. I don't look back too much and think, where would I be now if this had went belly up? I don't. I just go, no, I was lucky. What do I need to do to move forward? And that's all I've done ever since. And that's all I ever will do. I don't, it doesn't bother me. I don't lose sleep over it. And I'm just going to keep on doing what I do until such times that the body or the head decides it doesn't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And let's hope
Great.
that's another 20 odd years or more yet.
I would say there's at least 25.
Oh, there's a few more. There's a few more things spinning in the head for we'll have a go at over the next lucky years. I'm sure will come to fruition. Maybe, just depends on how everybody, the nearest and dearest, wants to support that there. Because you can't bring the Hamad up now. Like after doing that last year, so I have to let it sit for a couple of years maybe.
It was a savage undertaking, and fair play to you for doing it. Did you get through the whole experience unscathed, or was there moments whenever you were just thinking, I'm smashed here, no injuries or sort
Be
of
totally and utterly
doubts?
honest with you, Mickey, I had no injuries. A couple of times you maybe had you're stiff after doing the longer ones, but the sprints in the Olympics, to be fair, the body stuck them no bother, on the try or the halves. To be totally honest, I don't ever remember once going, I can't be bored with this.
Good
I
man.
don't never I never once it never once entered my head that this wasn't going to be done like. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? 10 years in your head of organising things in your head and keeping getting this right. It was always just 1 week after the next, just keep going. That's all it is. And that's life. You just have to keep going. There's no point laying down.
Absolutely. You're the type of guy, when you get something in your head, that's it. It's locked in, it's loaded, it's getting done.
When you have it, when it's for something that means so much to you, then, and I think a lot of people should take that there, should, like you done Lanzarote, which was a brilliant achievement, but when you locked that in, there was nothing stopping you from doing that.
Aye, yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's an amazing achievement in itself too, because I've done Lanzarote and I just heard it was a hell of a lot windier this year, and the bike course was more savage than any. So fair play to your good self for doing it, like,
Aye,
you
well,
know.
thank you. It was certainly windy, but that's what I signed up for, you know. But aye, you're right.
And
When
that's it.
you get that sort of mindset, you're away. Tell me, Carl, what was the? I know your last day was your a big one. It was a big one, and from memory, there was a bit of redemption to be had as well with the 52K run at the end. We'll come to that at the end.
Oh yes.
5.2K swim. Had you done a distance like that before? I know you've done Ironman
Well,
distance, which is
well, I've done
3.8, but had
seven.
you?
Was it 7.8K? I think was the most I've done before, and I've done the double.
Oh yes, of course.
So, but I'd never done. I think the most I had done up until then, because to be fair, I was going to the pool and doing a right bit of swimming, but not big distances because I suffer in the swimming pool in Cookstown with the sinuses problem with the chlorine.
I'm the
So
same.
that
Yeah,
so that was a massive hamper, and it's got worse since. So I was really only getting probably between 3 and 4K swims done, but the swim didn't bother me. I could just get in and just go and swim. I don't have a fast pace or anything like that there, and I had a plan. I went out to do the swim, and I was just every 1,000 meters, just stop, get a drink, go again, and just do that every 1,000 meters, just tick them off. And I wanted to say, if I get it done under, what was it? I think it was under 3 hours, or was it under 2 hours? I think it was under 2 hours.
mm-hmm.
No, I was under 2 hours. I wanted to get it done. Thinking of what I do, and I got it. What I think it was 150. Or whatever it was,
Brilliant.
but it was 10 minutes under the time anyway, and I was more than happy, like. So it was. So the swim didn't annoy me at all. Like, I loved it, to be fair, and the amount of people that was in that water, I think they counted 38 people came into the
Class.
pool that morning, which I think I'd done 2 laps or 2 lengths, and then I stopped then just to get up and look round me and go, oh my good God. And that was, even now speaking about it, of the whole day, that was probably the only time that there was emotion in the whole day.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just looked and went, oh my God, look how many friends, family, the club ones, and people had come down from all over the country. And then you're just going, oh good God, they're doing this because I'm doing this. And you know me, I don't hog the limelight. I'm not interested in the limelight.
Yeah.
I could have went and done that whole day myself, not a bother, and it wouldn't annoyed me, and I still would have got out of it what I want. But having that support and then people come, yeah, it was humbling it that morning. It was absolutely, because I'd done the next couple of laps now. Let's just say the body was, there was a few shakes like going on. Like,
Ah,
it was emotional. Like, and I haven't really said that to anybody since that. To be fair, because that was just something I just wanted to do for me. Like, you know,
ah, yeah.
But thinking, and this thing, having this podcast, which is brilliant, is a great thing, because I can basically say, thank every single person that came out that day, and supported the whole thing. Just, it was amazing, and it was absolutely one of those days that you'll never forget. Like,
No, that's class.
well, the bacon part we probably will, because the weather wasn't great. Considering that was only the second time in the whole year that I got rained on in any part of the challenge that we're doing.
Really?
Uh-huh. That was the second time we got rain. There was one time I was out doing an Olympic, and I was out on my own, and I got absolutely hit with bucketed, and that's the only time, because I remember in my head going, I can't believe that I've got this far before I got actually wet. That in the year, and I think it was middle of July or something, like.
Unbelievable.
You know what I mean? And as I say, the biking should have been the easiest one of
Mm-hmm.
the three, because it was only 52K. We had a wee change in route at the last minute, and ended up we got absolutely drenched. I think it
Mm-hmm.
was eight of us went out. I didn't want a big crowd going out because of, one, of the weather, and two, the safety side of things. I didn't want anybody getting hurt. So there was
Yeah.
eight of us went out. Probably most of the ones that had been out with me a good bit. And I do want to say, before I go any further, our Mark come, and he started the day with me and done every single minute of the day with me. on the last day, and I just want to thank him. I did thank him and whatnot, but on this, it was amazing. You know, he saved himself for the last one. You know, I said he would go the long distance and do it,
Good stuff.
and you know what I mean. So he was there from start to finish, and a lot of other ones had been out a lot. Bacon, we got in anyway, soaked to the buck and skin, and then as you just mentioned, my thing then was the run.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had it set out in my head. I knew exactly what I was doing as long as the legs stayed. You know, I would kind of keep going. Forgot about, you know, mile 16, 17, because you can't train to do 34K when you're doing half Ironman every week, or
Yes.
52K, sorry. You know, you
Yes.
can't train to do that longer mile. So you're kind of going on a wing and a prayer.
Aye.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I kind of going, I forgot about mile 15, 16, the legs haven't went, because I was only doing 13 miles. I'll be happy. I just went out in a nice easy pace. We've done laps around Cookstown. We changed it a wee bit, you know, for people coming out. And I just kept going. And the legs kept going. And I kept
Mm-hmm.
running. And I was going, something's not right here. Like, I had no issues. There was no aches or pains. The knees, everything was going. You know, we're having a bit of crack and a bit of banter. And I was going, flip me. I just kept tipping away. Got to mile 20, still going. You know, bar coming down a lap. And then I'd come in, get a bite to eat. You know,
Uh-huh.
see who was coming out, where we were going, and then go again. That was the only time. I got to mile 20, thinking the wheels are going to come off. They have to come off. You know, now I wasn't running any fast pace. No, kept going. Mark was there going, let's go. You know, another time the competitive head was kicking in. Oh, but you can go a wee bit quicker. Shut your mouth. This is what I'm planning. This is what I'm doing. Nothing's going to change it. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? But that's just that brotherly flipping competitiveness, and he
Yeah.
does today. He has always done that with me, like, on fair play. And then the only other time I got emotional was I was coming in on mile. I think it was mile 26, 27, or thereabouts, somewhere around about that. And I come into my driveway, and there must have been about 50 or 60 people in my drive.
Class.
Now, I didn't register who all they were at that stage, because you're in focused head, and as my wee world going, this run has to be done for the reasons that I wanted. And I come in, had a quick bite to eat, and I says, right, whoever's coming out, let's go. But I didn't register who all was there. And I started running right up the street, and all this noise was going on, all these people. I said, what the buck's going on here? And I stopped and I turned around, and Claire and Brian, the two ones that I run the youth with, had all the youngsters out running with me.
Brilliant.
How that gets me going even now, without a
Aye.
shadow of a doubt. And to turn around and see all them kids, the youth's always been my passion, and it always will
Aye.
be. You know,
Yeah.
and seeing all them kids coming running and laughing and titting and roaring, and I'm sitting going, this is it. This is it. You know what I mean? I didn't care what happened after that. You know what I mean? I just said, I'm just going to keep on going. This has made my day. You know, it's really hard to really probably explain it, but that was it. They ran bits and pieces, you know, a couple of mile. I think there was one of the girls ran the full 6 mile loop, you
Brilliant. Yeah.
know, and a couple of other ones ran 4 and 5 mile, you know, and they come back around again. And then I think with the last lap, the last 6 mile to do what it was, and still hadn't walked. And I'm going, what's going on now? There was a couple of bit of walking done then the last 6 mile. But whenever I looked back at it and calculated, out of the 34 mile, I ran in total 32, just over 32.4 mile.
That's unreal.
You know, and that was my demon put to bed from the
Happy
double
day.
from the double Ironman.
And you got to be Cookstown's version of Rocky for a wee bit there too.
Oh,
That's
that's
scene in
actually
Rocky.
that's
That's
a
what I'm
really
thinking.
that's a really good term to put it. And that was, yep, very
That's what
much
I'm
so.
thinking in my head. That bit when Rocky
Ah,
accelerates off and then all the kids are running behind him like
oh, yep, perfect.
ready.
That that is that'll stick with me now, because that's one of my favorite films as well. Actually, well,
That's
actually,
you
fair
got
play,
that wee
Mickey.
theme tune locked in there now. Whenever you're
100,
when you're remembering that.
yep, 100%
So
class.
obviously then, Carl, after you actually finished the event, what was going through your mind? What were you looking at? Who was around you? What was that sort of finish line moment?
That
Uh,
finish line moment, coming round the top end of Cookstown there and coming round, and there's a few still out running with me, Mark as usual, going, I'll pick up the pace and all this kind of, shut you up the frig. At that stage now, the legs were going on empty. But still running, and I was so surprised. And a few other people I was meeting that don't normally run, and they were out running, and I was going, holy frig. And then I was coming running down to the house, and Sandra was out at the front, who has been, and that day was amazing. There was people coming in and out of the house all day long. She hadn't a clue who they were, and they were fed this and fed that, and they were bringing stuff, and and it was amazing that way. And she was standing there, and my emotion was gone. Then I had my time was out in the course, and
yeah.
as I tend to do these things, the last lap is whenever you get it out of the system, because no, well, I just don't do that sort of thing in front of a lot
Aye.
of people. Like. But it came around and there was loads and loads of people here. Another person I want to thank massively was Lisa from the Stroke Survivors group.
Uh-huh.
She was at the pool when I started. She was out when I was on the bike, when I started on the bike, when I finished the bike. And through the run, I think I've seen her maybe 4 or 5 times at the house when I
Mm-hmm.
called, or whatever it was. And she was there at the finish line, her and her husband, Peter, and it was that was emotional too, to a point, because at the end of the day, she was so emotional for what I'd done,
Yeah.
and that meant so much. I don't
Yeah.
think she realizes just how much it meant, and we've had conversations, spoken, met up loads of times since. But I don't think, and hopefully when she hears this, she'll realize just what it meant to have her
Aye.
there as well. Like,
Aye.
so it was, and I'm sure you've seen the whole TV thing halfway through when we started the run, like, which was. I'm just going to name drop Neve McGarry. You need a kick in the ass, because she was the one that turned around and instigated all that. So we'll make sure she hears that then too, because it was lovely. Don't get me wrong, but when somebody rings you to turn around and say, by the way, the TV's waiting for you at the Banavon Theatre, I was so tempted. I was so tempted to run on.
You
And I,
wouldn't
I
take it.
will not lie. I was so tempted. No, I don't. I'm not interested. But I was meeting all the stroke survivors
Yes.
there, and there's no way I was missing that opportunity to get them on TV.
Aye.
You know.
You certainly raised the profile of the charity, and you've done yourself, your family, and the charity, and the whole area. Like, we're all very, very proud of you, Carl. And it's
Thanks very
something
much.
that's very, very special. It really, really is. What made it a wee bit more special too was New Year's Eve, wasn't it?
It was, boy.
And what a way to end what was an absolutely epic year. You must look back on that now and think, holy shit,
It
that was
couldn't.
something going.
It went. Now, where you always have these plans in head, and like this has been in my head for 10 years, and everything probably went better than I thought it would. Because
Hmm.
you're always going to think, when's the handbrake going, or no, when's the wall going to hit? And to be fair, it never did. And that's the bit that I'm sitting. I'll be humbled a bit. I'll be proud of myself, going, the wheels never came off.
Brilliant. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I got the New Year's Eve. When I said that there, I didn't even get the booking 12 o'clock on New Year's Eve. I was out cold. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I definitely probably one of the best night's sleep I've had in a long time.
There was no
And
oil lang syne for you. You were in the
no, never seen
scratcher.
12 o'clock. First time in my lifetime I've never seen 12 o'clock on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
And
There'd
not
have
a
been
drink.
nobody.
Well, I don't
There'd have
drink.
been nobody would have held you back from getting to the cot that night.
No, I've coped and fell asleep on the couch, and then went to bed. But listen, that wasn't my plan. I didn't really care. I just had to be done before the new year kicked in, and it was like,
Unbelievable.
yeah.
Um, can you remember how much was raised then altogether?
In total, we raised just 5 grand. The club gave us, or gave into it, £750, or should I say the club, the Triathlon.
Uh huh.
They gave me £750, and then we raised 4,250. So five grand in total went to
Brilliant.
the stroke survivors group. Like,
Amazing stuff.
so it
Absolutely
is.
fantastic.
Oh yeah, definitely. And and this here again, I want to thank every single person that donated. It was appreciated massively by me and more so by the survivors group, and every single person that made the effort in any way, form, thanked. The messages that come and whatnot, and the people that was here, and there's quite a few people that was out on a regular basis with me through the year,
Hmm.
and they know who they are, and believe you me, they'll know just how appreciative I am of them coming out on a regular basis, along with everybody else. It was amazing. It's an amazing experience, and I haven't really dwelled on it or thought a big pile about it. To now, now you put it back in my head, and you just go back and go. It was an amazing experience to share it with people.
It is, and it was. And you know what else is amazing? The fact that you were able to do it, Cara. When you look back at your journey and what had happened, and I know you're not wanted well, but you're one of the good guys. You've come through a really, really tough time. You've rebuilt, you've regrouped, you've refocused, you've set yourself that goal, that target, and you've done it for other people. So I'm going to just say to you, well done, you. Well done, Cara. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Brilliant stuff.
Thanks very much,
It
Mickey.
does no harm as well, every so often, just to have a wee think back, and give yourself that wee pat in the back. And we're not very good at doing that. Like, so,
No, we're not.
whenever if you haven't even been thinking about it really until now, then I'm glad that I've had a wee poke about and a wee prod around in there in the memory banks just to
I'm glad you.
revisit it.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you have, because I really haven't. I've just got on with doing things. More people have says, what are you going to do now, or what events are you going to do, and all this malarkey this year. I'm not doing another triathlon this year. I've
Right.
nothing signed up for. What I'm doing now is I'm training with the people that was out with me last year that are doing events, are doing their own thing this year,
Uh-huh.
and I just says, listen, I give back. I'm going to go and I'll train with you, do whatever mileages they're doing, whatever swimming, whatever running, and I'm actually enjoying it now, knowing that last year was done. It didn't take anything out of me as such mentally, so I don't want to do now. I just want to give back, and I am enjoying the training now more than I've ever done.
Aye, there you are, and there's no real pressure on you, and I think that's
No, no.
it's just nice to be able to have this type of lifestyle now. Where you just go out and you do a wee bit of swimming, bit of biking, wee bit of running, keep yourself in shape, keep the old head clear, and
I'm actually probably fitter than I was last year now. I've been
really,
training.
aye,
I've been training probably more structured training, incorporating it with the ones in the club, and
mm-hmm.
it's. I think the fact is there's maybe not a big pile of different than I was doing last year, but the fact is I'm not. There's nothing in my head. I don't have to turn and go, oh, I have to do this because in 3 weeks' time I'm doing such and such. Nah, I couldn't care less. It's great.
Aye, so no pressure,
Great. Try
brilliant
it for a
stuff.
while. It's absolutely amazing.
Aye, well, I'm taking a wee bit of a break anyway from after doing Lanza, so I haven't even signed up for anything. I think it's the first time in probably 4 or 5 years there's nothing in my wee countdown app except for other things like my Cubs confirmation of an Iron Maiden concert penciled in,
Of course
and
you do.
and a holiday at some point,
No,
but no actual
you deserve it.
events. Aye,
You
but
deserve the holiday. For the family deserves the holiday. Like,
absolutely.
there's a lot of
Um,
sacrifices goes on to do an Ironman. Like,
Carol, it's been absolutely class catching up with you.
definitely.
Great, great to see you again. It's an amazing story, and I'm so happy for you that it worked out all right, and that there was no wild curveballs to be dealt with, and
No,
your efforts have been absolutely amazing.
I really appreciate it, Brian, and I really do. And I look forward to hearing the podcast with everybody else as well, like, because there's been a lot of
Uh,
amazing people on, like, with you.
it is one of the things that I like to say when people who find out about the podcast and they're asking me what it's about. It's about what I refer to as the unsung heroes of triathlon. And Cara, you're one of them. You're an
Ah,
unsung hero. So absolutely fantastic. Brilliant stuff. And thanks again.
Mickey, not a problem at all, dude. I really appreciate it, boy. Thank you.
Take care.
Be in touch, boy. All the very best.
Our final guest today is Ian Moffit, better known on Instagram as One Bloke's Journey. Ian, before we even start, I have to say you're looking very, very well. You have trimmed down.
Thanks very much. Yeah, still very much working on shifting that extra weight. It kind of hasn't really stopped since we last spoke. There's been little sort of up and down periods, but generally it's been trending the right way. So pretty happy with it all, to be honest.
Yeah, it certainly is. You're definitely a shrinking man. We'll call you. I'm sure. I'm sure you're happy enough with that
Yeah,
somewhat
definitely.
weird description. Ian, we last spoke in November, and that episode documented your amazing journey from a place of darkness and overweight, and how you overcame that and completed Ironman. And towards the end of the episode, we had looked into the future back then, and we were looking ahead to Ironman Hamburg.
Yeah,
Ironman Hamburg is on tomorrow,
tomorrow. Yeah.
and we're obviously recording our podcast now. So, what is the update in relation to Ironman Hamburg?
So my goal very quickly after Barcelona last year was to commit to another challenge, another effort that kept me focused really. I entered Ironman Hamburg and I entered Ironman Barcelona. Not unfortunately, the right thing to do was to delay Hamburg this year, to defer it. I've took an opportunity of work out in the UAE. And with that, and then coming back to spend time with my kids in the summer, and then they're coming out to me at Christmas, I was just going to be stretched too thin to try and fit everything in terms of work time, holidays. The move has took a fair amount of adapting to. From I've arrived, the weather has just got hotter and hotter every month. They've just had the hottest May on record out here. Averaged over 50 degrees for the month of May. It's their hottest ever May. And it took a little bit of adapting, so easing off the training, largely training indoors. I was cycling there outdoors for a while and doing 3 and 4 hours, but by the time I get back from the rides, I was pretty cooked, and it would then take a day or two to kind of calibrate again, get back to sort of a steady way. So I eased off the training slightly, but then I've also focused on the opportunity that I've been presented with here. And it's a massive opportunity, and I wanted to give that a huge amount of focus that it needs. And just trying to chuck Hamburg into the middle of that would have been unrealistic. I was really looking forward to going. It's a girl from Dublin, Anna Murphy. There's a guy, Vittorio Ambrose, is doing it. There's a couple of others I know that are out there doing it, and I would have loved to caught up with everyone. There's a girl, Jen, from Lisbon. It's her first Ironman, and she was nervous. I was messaging last night on Instagram, and she was very nervous, and she said, "Thanks for messaging. You were my original inspiration for doing this."
Brilliant.
And that blew me away. So still very much going to be watching it and enjoying it, but just I've made the decision to defer, and then I have Barcelona in October, which I'd like to go back to and see if I can better myself on the same course. And then I've also entered the T100 in Dubai as another event. So busy summer of training and working on improving in areas, and then I've got those events to look forward to come sort of October and November.
Brilliant stuff, Ian. And I suppose, we talk about significant events in our life, and moving house is one. Getting a new job is another one. Let alone a new job and a new house and a new home and a new life in the United Arab Emirates, where the temperatures are reaching a balmy 50 degrees. I mean, I think it's the sensible thing to do, to be fair to you. I think had you have decided that you were going to ball on with that, I think you would have maybe done yourself some serious damage, certainly emotionally, or if not physically, but probably.
Yeah, well, I think pre-last Ironman and pre some things that I've learned about myself in the last few months, I'd have just gone ahead with it, because my mindset was run through walls, whatever it costs, whatever it takes, kind of. And by cost, I don't mean monetarily, I mean physically, mentally, because that's probably the life I've lived in trying to, where I haven't dealt with grief. What I've chose to do is throw myself into something and then kind of force my way through it. And that's not really where I'm at anymore. from I've come out to the UAE, personally, there's been a huge shift. I've recently been diagnosed with ADHD. That might not be a shock to some people that know me, but for me, there was a lot of confusion around why I felt the way I felt, why I would struggle in certain environments or scenarios, why my obsessiveness or compulsiveness was so strong. So when I came out here, with the support of my partner Joanne, I found somebody that I could go and see, and it's actually it's not a psychologist out here; it's a psychiatrist that you go and see for these matters. And there's a stigma around that, but again, I think from what you know about me, you'll understand that I'm not so fussed with stigmas and what people may think, rather than how can I improve and better myself. So I went ahead with it after some sort of considerations. Largely, I had some encouragement, as I've stated, from Joanne, but also my son Charlie has ADHD, and for the last year, he's been seeing a private therapist to get his diagnosis, because unfortunately the UK/Isle of Man NHS system takes a couple of years to get seen for this. So me and his mother went private to get Charlie seen, and he has been incredible in dealing with this. Really showed, as we spoke about, his sister Lily has her health challenges. She has an autoimmune disease, and she's fantastic and so strong. And she was a real inspiration for Barcelona for me, because if she can go through that every day and be smiling, then what I'm doing really is insignificant. So Charlie's strength in how he's handled this and managed it was what really gave me the push, on top of then having the encouragement from a supportive partner who only wants the best for me, isn't judging me, isn't letting others judge me. She understands me, and I think with that support, I've just gone, you know what's the worst that can happen when you break it down? What is the worst that can happen? So it's turned out it's been a really good thing. I'm medicated, which is something I swore blue in the face I would never do again after my previous mental health struggles, because of how it made me feel. I take a tablet every morning for this, and the difference it's making in my life instantaneously is huge. I'm far calmer. I'm more. Remember when Oliver Harkin was my coach, and me and Oliver had a very personal relationship, and I have a lot to thank him for. But we had our challenges, both friendship-wise, sort of in understanding each other and getting to know each other. And he always sort of gave me that room and encouragement to just do what I wanted to do. And that's been the biggest factor now. And Oliver would always say to me, sometimes I'm really high and sometimes I can be quite low. And where I find myself now is on this much more even keel. I'm far more sort of steady in my thinking. My concentration levels in multiple areas are much stronger. That there is a common theme that I'm not a very good multitasker, although when there's chaos around me, I'm the person you probably want by your side. I can deal with those things quite well, and there's a lot going on and spinning plates, but then simple things, texting, reading something and somebody talking to you, I completely would have zoned out. And it's a bit of a joke here, but that even things like that now, I'm far more able to manage multiple things without getting that frustrated or overwhelmed. I was finding myself a lot getting overwhelmed. That's the crux of it. We spoke about previously of what people would think of you, and little comments or digs, or sometimes they give you a compliment but it's backhanded, and how that would affect you. Things like that still happen in everyday life for most people, but I'm just so much more sort of forward thinking in how I respond, as opposed to being reactionary, and that's been a huge shift for me.
Good stuff, Ian. Thank you very much for sharing that. And I suppose just to pick up on some of those points, firstly, you're absolutely right. You shouldn't really give as much of yourself away to others and struggle alone and to try and battle through something when there's an opportunity to avail of help and avail of support. And I think what you've done is to be commended, but there's also a message that you're sending out here to other men, and you've said that we've all had issues, and I too have had issues. I've struggled with my mental health in the past, and I make no apologies for that, and I've never really tried to shy away from that nor hide that. But I think blokes like you and I that are more comfortable expressing ourselves and saying that we have had moments where we've had self-doubt or issues with our self-worth or felt that maybe we weren't good enough, that is the time to recognize what's going on, take stock of it, and try and figure out how to move forward with it, because trying to bury it and trying to put that brave face on never really addresses the issues. And I think what you've said there is on the money with regards to the stigma, and I think it's important that we continue to try and break down those stigmas and those sort of cultural notions that something like a mental health difficulty is in some way a weakness. But
Yeah, I
it's
think.
the strength of identifying it and the strength to deal with it is where you actually find yourself, I think.
Yeah, well, there's multiple sort of facets to it, because we grow up. I've always been a big, strong man who would have protected, cared for, and looked after his older brothers when he was little. My dad was always the protector and carer in his family. That includes for his father, for his mother at times. Then, us. My dad, I'm his son, but I have stepbrothers, I have half brothers. Obviously, Stacey, who passed away. My dad lost his sister. My dad lost Stacey, and he just really. I learned a lot from him, but then my dad kept it all in for a very long time. And that's how, we follow. Now, my dad, to be clear, is my hero. He's my absolute idol. So you almost look up to this person and think that's how you're supposed to be. So I did that. I was big, I was strong, I was inward, I didn't share. And what that led to more often than not was more trouble than good, more negative than positive.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started to talk, when I hit rock bottom and I tried to take my own life, I then was fortunate enough that I failed, firstly. But rather than them being treated with shame and embarrassment and sort of the guilt of what I tried to do, which is that are all sort of natural feelings after that, I got really good support that told me that that wasn't the case. And I had support from my family that didn't know how desperate I was.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly my father, my mum tried her best, absolutely. There's a couple of friends, Stephen Carriage, who has sponsored me. He was the one that was on my JRT marketing. They were on the tri-suits for Barcelona. They have stood by me no matter what, and they all were there and couldn't quite believe that this, and in brackets, big strong man, was that low. And once I kind of understood that, I thought, what, I'm actually only harming myself here. And I'm lying to everybody, because everyone's like, "Are you all right?" And you're like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And then you do something like that, and they go, "Well, you're not fine," And they weren't short. Some people weren't short in their words with me, and how they were upset that I hadn't gone to them or shared with them, because they would be the first to say, "Well, you've always been there for us. You've always looked after us. You would do anything for me," But then, if that works for you, it should work back. And I wasn't in that place. But then, once I got comfortable with people kind of accepting of me, I wasn't riddled with guilt or shame. I've always struggled a little bit with the things that have happened, the big moments in my children's lives, and seeing them, the sports days, the school reports, the Christmases, the birthdays. Charlie is obsessed now with Formula One and Lego. He's coming out to watch the Formula One in December with my dad. And those things, when I think of them, I often find myself going, imagine if you'd have been successful in what you attempted. And that sometimes can give you just a little cold feeling, a little shock. But I don't see that as a bad thing. That's a reminder that you were making a mistake, and what you're doing now and life is going in the right direction. So I try and find the positive in that.
Great stuff, Ian. Absolutely delighted for you that things have worked out. And it is a strength. And as I say, hats off to you for talking about that and for sharing that quite personal information. It's clearly beneficial and it's working for you. I mean, you're looking great, you're sounding great. You certainly are much, much more calmer and, you know, more relaxed or something. Just before we began the recording, I did say, are you okay? Are we good to go? And you went, yeah, fine, mate, yeah. But it was really because the guy I was looking at wasn't the same guy that I spoke to the last time. So I was able to, even from that couple of minutes just before we went and pressed record, it was evident that you were in a better place. And I mean that
Yeah.
from my heart. I'm not saying
No,
that
no.
just because of the information you've shared. It's because there is a notable difference in your presentation, which is a much, much more positive, cooler, calmer, more collected, mindful person, and that's brilliant.
Yeah, I think what I've kind of the journey I've been on from I got out here, and there's people probably going to listen to this that know me out here that haven't a clue about this, but I spoke to Joanne about sharing it because, again, if there's one person that is thinking, and whether it was the last podcast we did or this one, who gains an ounce of either strength or courage to go and either get some questions, ask some questions, or get some support, then that's kind of what I'm trying to live by now. And it was the last time, and it is now. The difference last time and now, though, I was much more positive and able to do the things and be sort of so strong-willed through grief and kind of having that clear bloody mindedness that I'm doing this, that's the end of it, and not really listening to what anybody else had to say. Whereas now I'm much more sort of reasoned in my thinking. Not always, not every minute of every day. Let's not pretend that like I'm cured, because that's not it.
Mm.
But my journey in terms of getting a diagnosis, having a means of managing that, constant assessments. You know, I'm in every 4 weeks to be seen, and that's a personal choice. I pay for that. I could leave it now and just plod on, but that's not what I want. I want to kind of make forward steps with all of this. That's just allowed me now to just have a bit of a different mindset most of the time. Huge encouragement to Joanne. She's really kind of shaped the way. I think one thing I've never been blessed with is patience. It's just not a gift I've ever had. But with this, I'm being patient, and it's okay to. There was a night this week I come in from work and I just was cooked. I've not been feeling great. I actually aborted my long ride this morning. I was out at 5 o'clock cycling and I just didn't feel right, but I haven't for a few days. And I think I did 10, 11K, but I was just, heart rate was high. The sweats, now it's hot anyway, but the sweats were even more significant minutes into it. And I just thought, nah. And whereas in the past I'd have just ploughed on, ticked off had to have that green session on Training Peaks.
Mm.
You know, you can't have oranges or reds, but I've been very fortunate. I've kind of met somebody through social media who's followed my journey. But Ollie has been fantastic because he's like, if you're not right, just don't do it. You know, I got a message off him this morning. I'm banned from training for 3 days. And that's not something anybody would have ever told me, because I was so dependent on training for my mental health. You know, I was having to train to kind of keep at this high level or a functioning level, even not even a high level
Yeah.
of sort of keeping my head right. So the fact that I'm now able to be like, okay, training's not a good idea, just ease off and listen to your coach. That's huge. And Oliver probably would be the first to say that's not one of my. He'd have probably never been able to tell me to back off too much. You know, I was so bloody minded. So now, kind of meeting Ollie and kind of having that nurturing environment that encourages your progress, but also looking after yourself and your body. That's been a huge kind of education already. It's only been about 4 or 5 weeks. But it's so encouraging, and he's helping me learn new things about myself, and it's okay, like you say, if you need to do an easy session, just do an easy session. You don't have to hit the numbers, or it's not so important. And one thing we did this week, we worked ourselves back from Barcelona, so rather than just training kind of plan, I wanted to understand the event and then come backwards. And we've got a real clear plan now of what's happening. And for somebody like me that needs information and detail, that's been a real encouragement, because I literally know my milestone markers now. So this far out, as long as I'm training and keeping aerobically fit, the kind of big work is a little bit away yet, and that's okay. So again, having that support of somebody, and Ollie and me spoke before we did any work together, and he had seen the podcast, he'd seen the social media posts, he'd seen the struggles, the mental health. So he had an idea that I wasn't possibly, a premium athlete, so to speak, in terms of, I wasn't a top end age grouper, and that's fine. But also he really tuned into my life and what's going on in it, or what has gone on, and how to work with me. So I think giving people the opportunity to come in again, whereas I was closed off for a very long time, allowing people in, taking their advice on board, stopping before you speak and listening to them, it has been a real sort of jump in the past 4 or 5 months for me. That trust, giving people that trust to be part of your sort of inner circle again, it was huge for me, because I was so, like you probably referred to the last chat, everything was about, what I thought up to Barcelona, then all these amazing people. And I remember telling you about the support I got on course, and there was a couple from Scotland, Craig Webster and his partner Laura. He did the Ironman, he did really well, but we'd met in the hotel, Scottish couple, and they were amazing. And he's still messaging me now. Keep going, well done, how are you? And it's those friendships that kind of started from this journey that I'm still very grateful for, and kind of using all that now to shape who I want around me, how I take that in, allowing them to give advice and listen, as opposed to kind of being a bit shut down, which I probably still was back in October.
It sounds to me, Ian, that you are much more balanced now. I think whenever we last spoke, and
That's the drugs.
yeah, it could well be the drugs, but there's part of it. There's part of it, and the biggest part of it, in my opinion, was yourself, and maybe the conversations that you've had with Oliver has given you an opportunity as well to be a wee bit more lenient on yourself for not hitting those green tabs on training peaks that you referred to. And I suppose the message from that is that, there's much more to life than triathlon all the time. That it is as important to make sure that you're okay and that you're rested and that you're physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually balanced. And then you're in a much more better place to be able to take on the next big training block in the run up to Barcelona, because that's going to have its own demands. And it's not healthy all the time to be so obsessed, and I hate to use the word, but addicted to the new you. Because I think what happens sometimes is when we have come through a change and we find something like triathlon, we go at it hell for leather and we throw everything into it. And then it potentially becomes a problem because it's all about triathlon. So you're kind of replacing one drug with this new drug, albeit it's a healthier drug, and you're trimming down and you're slimming up and you're getting stronger and fitter and all this sort of stuff. But there comes a price with that too if we're not careful. So I think you're now maybe a wee bit more tuned into the importance of keeping your mind right, about adjusting to your new environment, adjusting to the new job, adjusting to your new friends group, your peer groups. There's a lot of big changes. So smashing yourself to pieces 6 days a week this far out from Barcelona wouldn't be a good idea. So I'm glad you're taking a couple of days off, because it sounds like a plan.
Yeah, well, that's kind of, again, something I'm comfortable with now, but I wasn't, you've stated it, I just wasn't comfortable with it. I did a lot of training at max effort all the time. Saturday morning was 120k around the lock, and I was going, I had to be above 30 kilometres an hour. It wouldn't matter if it was gale force winds. My mind wouldn't let me reason that it was a gale force wind. It's okay if it's 25. Whereas now I kind of have some tolerance and understanding of those things. And that's just a really simple example. But if I can apply that to the weather, which would have been a big thing a while ago, I now can apply that to much bigger and more important areas of my life. Triathlon has been really good to me, and some of the friendships and relationships that I've formed. I still keep regular contact with everybody at Mako. We had the end of season awards in Balbriggan, and I ended up getting the Club Person of the Year award.
Very good.
Somebody that embodied the club, the spirit, and that blew me away. You know, other than junior football and some motorbike trophies, you know, I haven't won much in life in the term of, you know, awards or
Yeah.
and that's not a violin moment. That's just, I just wasn't one of them people. You know, I had friends who won everything they did, you know, cricket, football, but whatever they did, they were brilliant at. And I was okay at lots of things. But this is probably, it was a huge moment for me because it was voted for by the committee, and everybody I was told on the committee voted for me. And that, to see that people are genuinely inspired, you know, like the message last night from Jen, I was her original inspiration. I'm doing a lot of good without seeing it. And I'd have been very guilty of sort of seeking validation and using social media for that in the past, as in boohoo me when it was a bad day, and kind of, you know, look at me, I'm having a mental health struggle, and kind of crying out for some support. I still post almost everything. I post when I have a brilliant session, but I also post when I have a bad session, and I say why. Just wasn't feeling it, not feeling great, and that's okay, because we live in a time where what you see on social media isn't really reflective of reality. You know, not everything is rosy, not everything is brilliant. There are struggles. We will have tougher days and easy days. Some training, I can't remember who it was, but somebody told me that if you did 3 weeks of training, you will have a good week, an okay week, and then a less than good week.
Yeah.
That's kind of the sort of the balance of it. And you can break that down into singular weeks or multiple weeks. So being comfortable that it's not always going to work out in terms of what you want to hit the numbers wise. But then there's running sessions I'm doing now, and I'm hitting, you know, short duration efforts. I'm hitting numbers and speeds for time that I've never hit.
Good stuff.
I'm about 3 stone lighter than I was doing Barcelona at the moment.
Amazing.
I would like to try and get another couple off. I've gone down the TT bike route. So I'm learning to get comfortable on that. So less weight on that, the better. Get a bit more tucked in. There's a bit of me still to tuck in, but we're working on it. There's an amazing couple of bike shops out here. I've had good experiences with the ones I've dealt with, but there's an island here called Hudriat or Huderiat, and it's just for sport basically. It's cycling, it's running, it's tennis, it's paddle, it's swimming, it's indoor running tracks. The World Triathlon Series was held here in January, February. So when I came over, I did Yas Marina Race Circuit. They had an Olympic distance triathlon on. I did that, I think, the second week I was here, which was a brilliant experience. You cycled around the track, and then you ran kind of around the marina and swam in the marina. And then a couple of weeks later, it was the WTS, and the likes of Matt Hauser, Hayden Wild, they were racing the pros, you know, and it was massively impressive to watch and see. And then the next day, I did the sprint race there, and it was like being at a race back home. I know this weekend is it a tie?
Yeah.
And I did that last year, and that was a fantastic event. So I hope that the weather's good again, because it was really hot last year. And I've kind of got into that routine here where, you know, a couple of events early in the year while the weather's cool enough. Do a lot of training indoor in the summer, or late night, early mornings is when you can go outside to train and just build towards Barcelona. But the environment and community here is very sport. Everyone's either running or cycling or swimming or all three in our case. There's a very, 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 very big culture. So they're developing whole areas of islands just for sport. And, you know, the bike shop down there at Wolfie's, they've been very encouraging and supportive. There's a bike fitter there. I always use Chris McCann in Northern Ireland, but he's a bit far to come home for a bike fitting. So I had to find one here, and the guys are so supportive and encouraging, the guys and girls in the shop. So it's a really positive place to be. That definitely does help, being surrounded by that. Generally, most people want to see you do your best and want you to do well. You know, people are encouraging. There's just a nice balance. You work longer here, I think, than you would at home. you're kind of working from sort of 6 a.m, you're on the phone, or till maybe 7 or 8 at night, and obviously you're out at work during the day. But then the kind of downtime is of higher quality as well, so it kind of balances itself out pretty good. And really looking forward just to ticking off this next couple of months and then going to Barcelona in great shape.
Good stuff, Ian. It sounds like you've come through a lot and you're in a real good place. I'm delighted for you.
Thank you.
And I suppose the rest of the journey will unfold as and how it will. But I suppose all I want to do is wish you all the very best now for a successful and injury-free training block up to Barcelona, and we'll all be keeping a wee eye on your progress on Instagram, and just want to wish you all the very best. I have absolutely no doubt that you're going to smash that time that you recorded last year. It'll be a different man lining up in a different, presumably a couple of sizes smaller of the tri-suit, and ready to kick ass, and that's fantastic.
Yeah, well, we got. I think when we got the ones made, we had to buy 5 of them. So I did get a couple of different sizes. So we'll see, but might even need adjustment a little bit more if it goes to plan. If not, I'll just wear something that fits and stuff. That the suit I had made was special because obviously I had the kids' names in it, and it had Stacey on it and the bands and You'll Never Walk Alone, which is for her really. It's yes, I'm a big Liverpool fan, but it was more for Stacey. But I had the kids' names, and obviously Stephen, who's backed me with not just he's helped financially fund this journey of sport, if you like, triathlon, but also he's backed me from I was a little boy. Really, we've been friends since then, and he's always had my back, and as I've had his, which he reminds me of. It's not one-way traffic. So I might wear the suit again. If not, I might just park them and keep them for the kids when they're a bit older. Charlie is flat out running. He loves his bike, so he's asking me, "Can we do this? Can we do that?" I think I went to the Isle of Man last year and we did a park run and he beat me. He sprinted off at the end. We'd ran the whole thing together and he sprint off. So he's asking me what they're coming out here and what can we do out here? Where can we go running? Where can we, so he could be somebody that definitely gets into the sport as well. He's definitely encouraged by it. Lily too. Lily, despite her challenges with her joints because of her condition, she's enjoying kind of trying to be as active as possible as well. So we're very fortunate that the kids are sporty and they don't just want to sit in the house and watch a computer.
And that's testament to their dad. They're seeing their old man do these things and they're thinking that's pretty cool, and monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah, well, that was one of the things we spoke about in the last episode. They've definitely, my mindset was, life's going to get tough. We're going to all go through challenges and difficulties, but no matter what is thrown at you, if you want to do things, no matter how hard they are, you can. I got my strength from them, or more so from Lily at that moment in what she'd been going through. So it was my way of just paying it back to them that despite everything and my physical condition at the time, how big I was and unhealthy life had been, if you really focus, you can get stuck into something, and that has rubbed off because they're both very resilient kids. So very lucky with that.
Brilliant. Very well said, and that's kind of the message and the ethos of this podcast. So I'm going to leave that lingering because that was just perfect. Ian, thank you very much. Take care and look after yourself.
All right, speak to you again soon. Take care. Bye bye.